Hello, Nate. Welcome back to the Penny Lane podcast.
Good to be back.
Well, you win the record for the guest that has come back on the fastest.
Oh, how quick? Like a week? 2 weeks?
It's been, like 10 days or something? Super fast.
All right. I'll take it. I'll build a little shelf and I'll put that award up there.
Actually, you're the only person who has come on twice in one season who has not been interviewing somebody else.
Who's the other one who's actually come back?
Ellis Stillinger helps me a lot. Whenever Justin is busy or can't make it or whatever, Ellis fills in, and I absolutely adore him for it. And Real Simple Ariel has been on twice, once for his own episode and once to help me interview Esk Trading.
Both of those, actually all three of those are really great traders. Mm-hmm. And if people aren't following them, they absolutely need to be. Esk is probably one of the most honest traders with her profits and losses that I've ever seen.
I know. She had a bad day today and it just kills me.
Well, here's the thing I know about her though. She's going to come back and she's going to make it all up tomorrow and then some.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just the best.
She's awesome.
Yeah. I really, as far as women traders go, I think she's my fave.
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think all female traders are my favorite. There's this stupid idea out there that trading is a men's game. And this, Blaine, I've got 4 daughters. I've got a wife. I've got 2 female cats. So I am literally surrounded by women every day of my life nonstop. And I love it. I think women make this world go round. And I think we need more women traders. And there's so many females who hide because let's just be real, dudes can be pretty creepy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so they hide behind these male names. But I'm dude, women rock. They are so much more capable of being centered than guys are. And they're not as prideful. They're not as arrogant. So I'm dude, FinTwit needs more women. 100%. I will die on that hill.
So my dad passed away not too long ago, and he was a stockbroker his whole life and did a lot of day trading. And first of all, I think he'd be so incredibly proud of the podcast, just thrilled. But also I never really, it seemed like a very male-centered world my whole life when he was doing it. So I did Dan and Hugh with Pennies Going in Raw. They started that, and I felt very strongly that there was an opportunity for a female voice in trading. And I was like, well, I might as well. I am a woman and I really like this. And that has been so important to me with the podcast, is just being a woman in a male dominated field.
Well, I think that's so good. I think about all the female traders who are out there who need somebody just like you to be able to look up to and say okay, if she can rise up above all the BS that happens in this world, I can too. Right? I am 100% for that. And again, I've got 4 girls, right? So I'm girl power, girl dad, whatever you want to put in there. That is who I am. And that is because I believe the best about women. And I think they have so much to teach the world and to teach men. And if us guys can just get out of the way for a little bit and actually let women do what women are amazing at and great at, FinTwit would be a better place. Trading would be a safer and better place. This world would honestly be a better place. I believe that.
When I started day trading, my husband made me talk to the only person I know in my life who was a day trader. And he said to me that women make better traders than men because they have no problem admitting when they're wrong. And I don't know if that's true or not, but
it is 100% true.
I think about that a lot.
Okay, just go look at all the biggest FinTwit accounts. When their stock is down, what are they saying? Buy the dip, weak hands, RSI oversold. It's and the women are yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, I don't buy any dips.
Exactly. And
out of there.
There's some dips, but I don't know that there are a lot of female, traders who have Twitter followings who are deleting a lot of their tweets at the same rate that male traders are. I'm just saying, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but I'm just saying, if you were to run one of those analytical things, I'm pretty sure guys delete more than girls.
How interesting.
I know. I kind of want to go look that up after we're done here.
Yeah, do a little research into that. Well, it's Thanksgiving. We're releasing the
Yeah.
episode on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
I know. Happy Thanksgiving to you and to everybody else, wherever you guys are. Some of you, you're in a place that you really want to be. Others, you're in a place you have to be. But there's a lot to be grateful for.
Totally. What would you say are some of the things you're most grateful for in 2021?
Yeah, man. Okay, so I got a lot, Blaine. Obviously there's my family. Like I love my family. We talked about in the last episode like our why, like why do we trade? What are we actually doing this for? For me, it's not necessarily to provide a better life for my family, but it's to provide a better framework through which they could look at the world, right? So much of what we do is about raising money through trading to be able to give away to other people. And I am grateful that my kids get to experience that. Like we've got a bunch of kids that we sponsor through Compassion International, which is an organization that gives food, shelter, healthcare, education, all that stuff to kids in third world countries. Like my kids, because we're doing that, they actually get to build relationships with these kids we're sponsoring. They get to write them letters. We receive letters. My kids every year do little fundraisers to raise money to buy them a goat so they could have like, food for their family and like sustenance and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like I am grateful that my kids get to see the bigger picture of what life is all about. Right. Because we live in in a world where you're a trader and where you're always focused on the P and the L. It's really easy to think everything's about money and it's about just getting that bigger house, that nicer car, that nicer watch, like whatever it is that you want. But for me, like I'm grateful my kids aren't growing up in that world, that they're growing up going like, man, we got to make a difference. Like we got a letter from a kid who literally had nothing. And then we got to step in and provide for them. And now they actually have a future. Like they can go to college now. They can get an education. They can get a job. They could actually begin to provide for their family. So 100%, I am so grateful for that, that trading is really one of the things that has enabled that to happen for me. Uh, Another thing I'd say I'm actually really grateful for is, I didn't talk about this on the last podcast, but recently I launched kind of this private education mentoring service, which I know you're in. And it's been so fun for me because I started this section actually on there called the why, like your
Mm-hmm.
why, where every trader who's in this room gets to write, like, here's my why, here's why I'm trading. And man, Blaine, these things, like, they bring tears to my eyes. Like, I've read through
Yeah.
all of them and I'm like, holy crap, like, these are real people with real passions and real families and real things they want to do. And for me to be able to be a part of their journey in teaching them and helping them learn and helping them grow to become successful so that they could actually begin to pursue their why in a much deeper way. Like for me, I'm like, oh, I am so incredibly grateful for that. Like
So grateful.
I like, and again, it's not about the P and the L, but like we have a P and L section there where people are posting their profits. And I'm like, knowing everybody's story, knowing everybody's why, when they post a day where they're like, I made $8,000 today. And I'm like, dude, I know your why. I know why you're doing this. And this is helping you do that. Like, oh, I am so freaking grateful for that. Just to be able to be a part of people's journeys, like it is such an honor.
For sure.
How about you?
The biggest things I'm thankful for this year. It's been a good year. Lot to be thankful for, especially in contrast to last year, which was just a hard year all around. Like I had Thanksgiving at my stepmother's this weekend, and last time we had Thanksgiving with both my stepmother and my mom and brother and sister, everyone, my husband had COVID and found out the day after. And we had to call everybody and tell them that we'd exposed them. And then we quarantined, like, knock on wood, I didn't end up getting it, but like my daughter had it and then gave it to my husband, and then my son got it. And so in it, we just kept re-entering the quarantine cycle. So we were in our house from the day after Thanksgiving until Christmas.
Wow.
And I mean, I could not have crafted more. We did all the crafts. I ordered all the stuff for Christmas. And so this year, just being able to like hug somebody and
hmm
work together to make a meal felt like a, a really big, beautiful thing.
I mean, there's something powerful about just being with people,
Hmm.
right? Like, 'cause so much of what we do trading, right? It's like this whole online digital world, and it's fun and it's great and it's awesome. But like to be able to step out of that whole thing, and to just physically hold another person, and to just physically be present with another person, like that is 100% a thing to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while I was at my stepmother's yesterday, I like looked at my phone to make sure everything's okay, but I wasn't like glued to my phone. And it was such a nice break to just be away from all of that and spend time with my family. And then right now, as you're listening to this episode, I'm at the beach with my in-laws, and I am not trading. I'm not doing any podcasting. I'm taking a full 6 days off because, just to be completely honest, I am like really burnt out
Hmm.
and just need a break.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful just for that time.
When that's one of the things I think like a lot of us struggle with. I mean, this is a trading podcast, so we're dealing with traders, right? Like so many people live on Twitter and Discord and with the markets, and especially with, like certain things now being able to trade as of today for 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's like we get so glued to this fake reality that we forget what it means to actually live as a human being in the world today.
Hmm.
And like, I don't know, like I love technology. Don't get me wrong. Like I think it's a really beautiful thing to be so connected, but like I wonder if we are so connected with the world of finance sometimes that we actually become really disconnected with ourselves and the people we love the most.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like for anybody listening, like, man, I would tell you, like, today is Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this podcast on Thanksgiving, maybe turn it off and listen tomorrow. Like, and I'm sorry, Penny. I'm not trying to tell people not to listen to your podcast, but it's like, guys, like the markets are here tomorrow. That there's always another day to trade, but how many days do we give up actually being able to live in the pursuit of this thing that we think we're actually going to be able to grasp?
Yeah. Yep. For
I
sure.
know.
What's your
I get convicted on that myself because I'm like, oh, like I know I tweet and I'm up like making videos at 2 a.m. sometimes, and I'm like,
Sure.
guilty.
For sure. What's your favorite Thanksgiving tradition?
Oh man. Okay, so growing up, like I didn't share this on the last podcast, but like my dad left when I was a young kid. My mom passed away when I was young. And so I grew up with my aunt and uncle, and like I never had any kind of a Thanksgiving tradition at all. Like, so when I got married to my wife 10 years ago, like I was literally a blank slate where I was like, what do you want to do for Thanksgiving? I don't know, eat food. Like what
Yeah.
what what do you do every other day? But my mother-in-law, she makes this thing called a 24-hour salad, which isn't a salad. There's nothing healthy about this thing. It's like marshmallows and like all this like whipped cream, and I don't know, it's like frozen. Like that's all I know how to describe it as. But my favorite
Is it
tradition,
green?
it's not. It's
Okay,
some
interesting.
family recipe they've had for like years. She's tried to teach my wife how to make it. She has not yet succeeded. Hopefully one day she will. But the tradition is, you know, she brings out these special dishes right before the meal. And these are like the 24-hour salad dishes. So if you were to think like, a king bringing out his goblet for his wine, that's the equivalent to what this is. So for me, like the tradition is simply she brings that food out and I'm like, that's it. Like, I don't even care about turkey. Mashed potatoes,
Yeah.
what? No, no, no. I want 24-hour salad. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going to eat. So there's that one, and probably also this is something I started to do with my kids is like every Thanksgiving morning, I go out and get them special donuts. And so Denver has some really good donut shops.
Jelly. Have you been to Jelly?
I have not yet. I need to.
Oh my goodness. It's
So
so delicious.
like there's a place down in the Colorado Springs where my in-laws live called Hertz. So I will go there and they've got like donuts with cereal on them and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I go and I buy like 2 dozen donuts. I bring it back. Everybody eats way too much. And then we just kind of relax until Thanksgiving dinner. So those two things are my biggest things. I think also too, doing an Orange Theory fitness workout with my brother-in-law Thanksgiving morning. I really enjoy that. It's silly,
Cool.
but yeah, it is what it is.
No, I think that's great. My husband is a big turkey trotter.
So he goes and does
So
a 5K.
yeah, not me. I don't participate, but
Do you cheer
he
him on
likes
though?
it. I will go at the end for the donuts and coffee.
You're like, you just ran. Let me eat your food because you don't want to
Thank
ruin that
you.
workout you just had.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Well,
right.
like, so even beyond, like Thanksgiving is such a unique time. Like today, what this thing represents, like, you know, in my wife's family, we have this tradition where everybody, when we sit at the table, we got to go around and say, "Hey, what are we thankful for?" Uh, and it's so funny to me because like everybody just says the most obvious things. Well, I'm thankful for family. I'm thankful for this food and for a good job and all that kind of stuff. And there's always this part of me that wonders, like, yeah, but like, what are you really thankful for?
Yeah,
Like, if you actually sit down and nobody else is around you and you actually look at your heart, you look at your life, you look at where you are and you go, like, all right, what this past year have I gone through that's actually made me a better human being? Like, what have I gone through that maybe was like hard as hell that actually made me feel like I actually advanced this last year?
yeah,
And I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to ask you that question, Blaine. Like as you look at this last year, right? Not the PC answer, right? Not the my whole family's watching right now, so I better say they are the things that I'm grateful for. But like for you,
yeah.
as you look in the totality of your last year, like the good, the bad, the hard, the ugly, the beautiful, like what are you grateful for that made you a better human being and a better trader?
Um, we do this with my in-laws family every year, and I'm always the one with the answer that like I'm sobbing, my mother-in-law's crying. I like bring down the whole thing because I'm like, this is like the thing. Um, I talked about my son on the last episode, and that's going so well. And to the people who listened to that episode and reached out with very, 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 very helpful things, um, God, thank you. I just, that was unreal. The people who reached out with working ideas for how to get him help, I really appreciate. Um, but if I don't say like my husband and my kids, which of course I'm thankful for, um, I did a tweet recently that, paraphrasing it, was like, I respect the people who have a dream in their mind and pull it out of their mind and see it all the way through. And then the end of that tweet was, man, that shit is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I'm really proud and thankful that I did that. Um and to have built this platform from nothing into what it is now, and sort of similar to what you were saying about people's whys, I mean, people almost daily are like, you have changed my life. And I mean, that is huge and powerful. So I'm the pride that I got from doing that is something I'm thankful for. But then also the like, I'm just so much more confident than I was prior to doing this. And I don't mean about stocks. I mean just like
Mm.
I did this, that I imagined this thing and then I put this thing together, and our producer Joel is always like, you have pushed this to where it is out of sheer willpower. Like I have worked my ass off on this podcast, and just knowing that I did that and that I am capable of working hard enough to bring a dream to fruition. I'm just glad to know about myself that I'm like strong enough to do that.
Ah, that's so cool. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah. Yeah. And I am like a dreamer. I'm an artist, and I have done this before. I mean, I built an art career out of absolutely nothing into like I'm nationally published and like have art in all these galleries, and like that was such an incredible spiritual and just amazing journey that I was able to work my way through that. But this journey is almost more meaningful to me because it takes like artistic talent, creativity, smartness, like willingness to really relate to people. And I've had to put myself out there in a way. Like I just interviewed Impressive Emu before this, and I was like, can you tell me what a fib is? And like to have the confidence to ask somebody that on a podcast that thousands of people listen to, I'm just like, that
Mm.
takes a lot of confidence. And I'm
One
just
and
proud of that.
and I would say too, though, Blaine, like, you know, when you look at your art career, there was already a trail that had been blazed before you for female artists.
Exactly.
And there was already a set thing like, hey, we've got galleries and people who want to buy stuff. And yet to do a podcast like this and go, yeah, there's PGIR, but like that's two dudes doing that. Like there's no female podcaster. There's no, podcast that maybe gets a little bit more real and raw. Like literally you are blazing a trail with what you're doing here. Um, and so I look at that and I go, hey, that's way cooler than getting your painting hung up in a gallery. Millions of people have done that.
Yeah.
You're the
And
only one who's done this.
yeah. And getting my art in a gallery, I like really, really, really love Van Morrison. He just like deep tracks. And there's a line in one of his songs that says, you have everything in the world you ever wanted, and right about now you have your worst mind. And that happened to me. Oh, hi, honey. There's a baby behind you. That happened to me. I got a solo show, and my art was like, I had reached really like the pinnacle of my art career and was sadder than I've like ever felt. And to, there's all of these kind of things in life that you think are going to make you happy. And then you get the things and you didn't fix the broken part, you know?
Sorry about the baby.
That happens to me every podcast.
That's when you got 4 kids or 2 kids, it just happens. But like
Totally.
you are 100% right though, right? It doesn't fix that thing within inside of us that we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I don't know, like to go back to that why question from the last podcast, like that's why that question is so important to answer, because so often we're just trying to fix something. It's like, well, what are you trying to fix? I don't know what I'm trying to fix. I'm just going to do something hoping that does it. It's like, well, if you could identify the issue, then you can address the issue, then you actually begin to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
Then you begin to actually experience joy and life and freedom and hope. And for you, like, I look at it, like, I'm really grateful for your podcast. Like, one, you have phenomenal content, but beyond that, like, this is a thing. When I look at the things that you post and the things that you say and the things you write, it's like, man, this right here, this is the thing that I think gets you the most excited in what you post, that makes you come most alive,
Yeah.
because it's about value. You're actually bringing value to the world. Does $600 in your account bring value to the world? Maybe. But does you actually like reaching out, doing a podcast that actually encourages people who are struggling and who want to give up? Like, look, I know the DMs you got. You sent me some of these after that last podcast, of people who are like at the end of their rope, people who are ready to give up, who are like, I actually have hope now. I actually feel like I can do this. Like, you did that. That is inspirational. Like, that's something to be grateful for.
Funny enough, I get more of those DMs on my like really big red days than I do about the podcast. Those are the days, and that brings me back from the brink of wanting to quit. You know what I mean? Like, I have a big red day, and then I do share it. And people are like, if you, like, people have been with me from the beginning, and they're like, if you in particular can, like, do this and own this and keep getting beaten down and like losing and whatever, and you can keep going, then I can keep going. I mean, it does not help anyone to just post Green Day after Green Day after Green Day. And I almost thought about not doing it anymore, but I was like, I think it is helpful for people to see that it's not a straight line to the top at all.
It's there's power in vulnerability, Blaine. A couple years ago, there was that big movement, still going today. It was the Me Too movement,
Mm-hmm.
right? That started in Hollywood, Weinstein, all these other people. And what I thought was so beautiful about it is, like, so often people who are victims feel powerless, right? Like,
Yeah,
in that particular movement, there were a bunch of women who had been sexually harassed, assaulted, and taken advantage of. And they felt like they had no voice. They felt like they had just no ability to speak up and do anything about it. They're like, this is just my lot in life. This is just the way it's going to be. And I think there's probably a lot of traders who feel that way too, right? A lot of traders who just go, well, I suck. I'm terrible. I'm bad. This is just the way it's always going to be. But then when those women decided to speak up and they decided to realize, like, hey, there's actually power in vulnerability. There's power when we can actually band together and say, hey, you know what? You too, me too. Okay, but it doesn't have to be this way. When we're honest and when we're open and when we actually just present things the way they are, then we could actually affect change and do something about it.
for
And
sure.
I always think about that when I see you or anybody else share a red day, because I'm like, man, like, this is the Me Too movement. And again, like, the context is so incredibly different, right? Like, I'm not trying to
Yeah,
compare the two, but it's like, okay, you can have a red day too. Okay, and it doesn't have to
yeah,
define you, and that doesn't have to control you. You could actually move forward and
right.
make progress and change something. All right, if you can do it, so can I. Me too.
I always try to use the hashtag normalize losses
Yes.
because people feel so much shame
Hmm.
about losing, and losing is part of this game. And to come up with a red day and want to hide or feel ashamed or feel like you did something wrong, or like, I feel like if we can all just be very honest with, like, red days happen.
Yeah, red
I
days are
mean,
your best teachers. They
yeah,
are.
the best traders I know take red days and learn from them and don't, and I think I feel pretty strongly about being honest about being read and
Yeah,
not having it be shameful.
no, I agree. Like, so in our floor, we actually have like we have our gains floor where people can post gains, but then we have our loss floor where we tell everybody, hey, if you have a loss, we want you to post it. We want you to celebrate it. We want you to go like, hey, this happened, but here's what I learned. Right. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like every failure just brings you one step closer to success.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like, do you think Edison invented the light bulb first try? Or that the Wright brothers built that airplane on the first try? It's like, no, they failed. But
Yeah.
that failure actually was forward progress, right? It's all how you handle failure, right? If you can
Yeah.
fail and go like, yeah, this sucks. I don't like being read, but I learned. So maybe tomorrow I'm going to fail forward.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
learn from this.
I had such a massive breakthrough with that last week because my child was home from school. I was scattered. I had a bad day. I was like red and then trying to get green. And my son just kept interrupting me. He wanted a Nerf gun put together. He wanted me to install an app on his iPad. He just kept, and I just got so agitated and then was just like redder. It just kind of got out of control because I was just not in a good mental spot. And then I wrote on Twitter, like, I know better than to try to trade when my child is home from school. I've had to like learn that lesson so many times, but the power of writing it on Twitter of like, today I learned that I cannot be a good mom and a good trader at the same time. And then like one day later, or 2 days later, the exact same thing happened where my child was going to be home from school and it was I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, and I will not trade. That is worth learning that lesson is worth that entire red. I think I lost like $1,500. That's just the price I paid to learn that I can't do that. But to if I was still beating myself up of like, why was I read that? They're just owning what you did wrong and moving on is really
One
powerful.
and here's the best part of that whole thing though. Not only did you grow as a person and as a trader because of learning that lesson, you also got that beautiful day of being able to be home and be fully present with your kid.
For
So it wasn't
sure.
it wasn't just a lesson for you. It was like, man, you learned a lesson and your kid saw the value and the worth that they have too.
Yeah.
Because you just decided like, hey, I'm not going to prioritize my computer screen over you.
Yeah. And I'm bad about doing that. I have been bad about doing that. So I'm gonna
Well,
stop
and
doing
like I think
that.
we all are, right? Like we all struggle with that, but I think there's something beautiful like and again, like, you talked about this last week. Your why, it's your family, it's your kids, it's this thing you're trying to do. Like trading, that's a vehicle, that's a tool.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing and a thing to be grateful for to be able to show your kid in that moment, I am willing to not touch this whole other thing I do just so I could be here with you.
Yeah.
Like that's powerful. And your kid is going to be able to look back on something like that as you continue to do that and go like, you know what? My mom, she loved me more than socks.
For
And
sure.
like straight up, like for anybody listening, like I just want to tell you guys this, like for anybody who is important in your life, whether it is a kid, a husband, a wife, a significant other, whatever it is, make sure that they know that they are way more important to you than a bunch of people on Twitter or than a bunch of people in Discord or than, like a bunch of numbers on a screen. Like, guys, it's Thanksgiving. Your money, you ain't taking it with you taking it with you when you die. Like you're not. Like I hate to tell you that. It's all going to somebody else. But these memories that you build, like you have the ability to literally leave a legacy that goes far beyond what finances could ever leave. And that's in the memories and the time that you spend with people. Like nobody ever gets to their life going like, man, I wish I could have gave more. I wish I could have left more money to my family. Everybody who dies lays on their bed and says, I wish I could have spent more time.
Yep.
And every single child or spouse doesn't wish they had more money. They just want more time. And the beauty is, like, most of us were probably young enough to actually be able to do something about that. And
Yeah.
so trade, by all means, have fun, do it, right? Chase your why, do that whole thing, but don't sacrifice the things that really matter. Like for you, that's your husband, that's your kids. For me, that's my wife, that's my kids. Enjoy it, but value the things that matter the most.
Totally. I'm really stuck on that thing you said about my art. Like, I've really struggled with that a lot of like, how did I get to the pinnacle of that career? I had the career, I was in the top 99% of painters, like little kids who want to be artists. And I always was like, how am I in this position to be as like prolific and profitable and all of this? And like, I just cannot be happy. And then when you said it's because other people had done it before, I've never thought of it that way.
Well, yeah, you weren't blazing your own trail, Blaine.
Yeah.
Like when I look at what you're doing with this podcast, even just following you online, like you are somebody who is independent. All right. You're somebody, like, and I'm sure your husband
Yeah.
would probably agree.
Yeah.
But you are the kind of person who truly wants to create something new and unique. And that's the heart of an artist. It truly is. Like the heart of an artist is not, oh, I've got to go paint this thing that somebody else has already done. I just have to do it better. It's like, no, that's not an artist. An artist is somebody who sees something in the world and goes like, I want to help other people see what I see. And
Yeah.
it's somebody who steps in and goes like, nobody's ever done this before. I want to help them see how beautiful this can be.
For
And
sure.
I would say that's what's driving you. It's not the art, it's the creativity, it's the newness, it's the blazing your own trail. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of your own backstory as a kid growing up that speaks into that. There's a lot of your social context growing up out there in Georgia that speaks into that. But you want to do something new. And new is always better, according to Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother. New is always better.
Yep. Especially for someone with ADD. Having a new thing to tackle every day really it's fun for me.
And
New day,
it's
new
fun.
problem.
But just make sure that in the process of doing that, you don't like forget the beauty of what you already have in front of you. Right. That's kind of the downside, I think, of the creative is like, I got to go do something new. I got to go do something new. Right.
Yeah.
And we forget that this thing that we did over here, it's only kind of half done.
Mm-hmm.
Or that these people over here are only kind of half loved. And so pursue the new thing. Like, yes, absolutely. That's great. But again, don't forget the things that matter most. And let all of that creativity and that energy and that beauty that you're like pouring into this new thing you're building, like let that come from the strength of the foundation you've built with your friends and your loved ones and those relationships that really ultimately matter most.
Yep. Yep.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Well, I think that's a good place to end it, and if you are a trader and you are listening to this episode on Thanksgiving, I think you needed to hear all of that.
Yeah, and stop listening. Don't re-listen.
So,
listen
turn
tomorrow.
Your phone off. Go eat your turkey and your dressing and your stuffing and watch the parade. I love Thanksgiving.
The Macy's Day Parade? Yeah.
It's my favorite tradition. Macy's is having quite the run-up. The stock is having quite the run-up to the parade.
I have been in one parade before at Disneyland.
Ooh.
I was playing the tuba. Yeah, that's all I got. I was in middle school playing a tuba, just bump, 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 bump. That was it. That's all I did.
Yeah, I don't think I've paraded before. Might have to add that onto my list.
It's cool.
Of things to do.
When I lived in California in Pasadena, I was right by where the Rose Bowl went, so I got to go watch that in my balcony. That was kind of cool for about 5 minutes, and then I thought it was lame. But that's just me. I'm not a parade guy, but some people like it.
We just went to the Braves parade because we won the World Series. It was cool.
I'm a Giants fan, all right? I flew out to California. I got like really great seats, a hotel across the street to watch them beat the Dodgers, only to have the series stolen from them. So bad. But congrats to the
Well,
Braves.
the Braves, the Braves deserved it. We've been fighting hard for a long time.
Was it 99 was the last year they won?
Yeah. No, I think it was earlier than that. I think it was like 95. I knew this glued into my head a week ago, but I'm
Tom
blanking on it right
Glavine, John Smoltz, those guys.
now. Mm-hmm.
They were the
Terry
bomb.
Pendleton, love him. David Justice, what a card. Neon Dion, Fred McGriff,
Wait,
Crime Dog.
Neon Dion?
Yeah. Deion
Deion Sanders?
Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that was his name. I'm going like, I know Deion Sanders. I didn't know about
Yeah.
Neon Dion.
I think that might have been a short-lived nickname.
Hey, you know what?
But
So there's something that everybody in the greater Atlanta metro area has to be grateful for. The Braves won the World Series. So if you got nothing else, that's a thing.
You know what else we can be grateful for? 95% of the people in the Atlanta metro area, and that's that the Dogs are kicking ass this season. Now, that as Dogs fans, we're very, very used to having a great season and then getting our dreams crushed in the SEC championship or the national championship. So if that happens, I will not be surprised, but we're having a good year.
Have a little more hope. Your team can do it. All right, come on, Blaine. Like your team can do it.
Our team has never looked better.
I'm
truly.
not a big college guy. The last college football game I went to was the Rose Bowl when Texas beat USC back in 2002, New Year's Day. That was the last college game I went to. And that was mainly because I went to the bar to go drink with the Texans after. That's a long story. I knew a guy.
Well, my dad was raised on Millage Avenue in Athens, Georgia. Went to the game every Saturday. He went to the University of Georgia. My brother and I went to the University of Georgia. God, I'd love to see him bring it home. Well, last time they were
just in the for you, I'm going to root for them.
Thank you.
I'm going to do it just for you.
Thank you. The last time there was a major championship here in Atlanta that the Dogs were in, I went and cried in the stands for a good long while after Alabama beat us. So, maybe it's our year. I also think that being a dog fan really sets you up to be a good trader. Makes you real tough.
It makes you tough, right?
Hopeful and tough.
Hopeful and tough, but maybe, just maybe, gives you this false sense of hope that everything's going to be okay. And so maybe you hold on a little bit longer than you should on some things. So
could be.
Just throwing that out there. Maybe there's a lesson in there. I don't know. I'll let you wrestle with that one a little later.
I will. But for right now, I'm sending all the good vibes to my dogs. And just
I'll send them too.
Hope this is the year.
Go Dogs.
Go
Wait,
dogs.
is there a hand thing they do when they do it? Do you have to go ruff ruff at all?
No, it's go Dogs. Sick 'em. Hoo.
Just
no hand.
No hand?
No.
Who does this? Is this Texas?
Yeah. Yes.
So I shouldn't be doing this right now. Okay, I'm going to take my hand down.
There is
you can edit that out.
When you do the go, there is you do the go and then so you're right. It's not a hand thing, but it's an arm motion.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll learn
Go Dogs.
I'll watch them. Are they playing Thanksgiving Day today?
Yes. They're playing Georgia Tech. And honestly, I feel very confident that we're going to beat Georgia Tech, and I'm just praying that nobody gets hurt.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do this for you, Blaine. I am gonna watch the game today. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I got to go marry a couple of my friends, but today I got nothing going on, so I'm gonna make sure I watch the game and I root for Georgia just for you.
Perfect. We need.
I got
all
Fubo
the
TV,
fans.
long Fubo. All right.
Oh, perfect.
Long Fubo. That's
perfect.
Right.
I was telling you this story about last Thanksgiving when I was quarantined, and I was making ornaments. My project was I bought a fake tree, and we made every ornament by hand that went on the tree. I was like, what can take a very, very long time. And I was day trading Fubo like every day during last Christmas break. And it just never went well. It was like at the
Nope.
very, very top of Fubo when it was just the backside, the backside, the backside. So you're saying like pay more attention to your kids. I wish I could have put my phone down and stopped trading Fubo and worked on those ornaments more because, whew, really lost a lot of money there.
Well, and let's be real. Fubo right now, it's probably lower than it was back then.
Oh, absolutely. It never went back to where it was.
No, it had a little run recently, but then it's pulled back. They had those earnings, which I'll be like, I thought their earnings were actually pretty good. It's their TAM that's killing them right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they're over 1 million subscribers. They're expanding into Europe. So I'm like, yeah, Fubo long term, great play. But short term, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
They're about to get some like huge soccer thing, aren't they?
I think so. I think they're working on some stuff with Europe and then also with the US. So
Yeah.
again, Fubo will be $100 stock. Like I know Zach Morris said it first, but I'm going to go ahead and say it here too, just so it's official on the record. It will be $100 stock
I'm sure
if
it
you can be
will.
patient enough with it.
Do you think Wish is a $69 stock?
No, but I do think Wish is going to be a $20 stock.
Okay.
Yeah. Like straight up, like, and I've got Wish leaps loaded that I've been adding over the last 6 months. When you look at Wish, you're like, dude, they're still pulling in like double their market cap and revenues. Show me one other company that's doing double their market cap and revenues that is worth half of what they bring in. Like you're not going to find it. And so, when you look at their earnings, look at some of the things they're saying, they're going like, hey, look, it's going to be end of 2022 before we actually start showing some profit on some of these changes that we've been making. Once they get the new CFO in there, the new CEO in there, it's like, yeah, of course, they're probably going to be a buyout target. Like I fully believe that. So $20, like, yeah, that is not out of the question for me long term. But right now, I do see a lot of people starting to talk about it again, which just makes
Mm-hmm.
me want to tell them, like, guys, can you shut up? Like, just let it do its thing for a little while. Let it
Yeah.
chill out. Like, it went under $4 today. I know, right? It went like 392 or 394. And I looked at it, I was like, dang, this was like a $69 stock, is what they were calling it. Like,
That was the
IPO,
PT.
IPO though, it was over 30. It ran up to 37. So you're looking at like it's lost 97%, 90 to 95% from its high. That's crazy. And it's
Also wrecked people. Like guaranteed you people lost their homes over Wish. So
for sure. And
got some
like
bad juju to it as
I
well.
I lost pretty close to 6 figures on Wish. Just because I wasn't paying attention during earnings, but at the same time, it's like, all right, like that happens, you know what I mean? But like I had a plan and I've adapted my plan and I'm doing okay now. I'm actually probably going to add more this next week, but that's just don't follow price targets thrown out online by anybody.
We've already learned, Fintwit, we've learned seeking alpha price targets, like price targets that come out of news sources. We already know not to follow those. So, like when Furu's put out price targets, just be like, price targets. Price targets mean
Yeah,
nothing.
I
Like,
I, I literally, unless it's like Bank of America or Goldman Sachs or somebody like that, somebody puts out a PT, I go, cool. I guess I'm gonna go tweet my price target now too. 69 for everything. You know what I mean? Like it's like
it
it just doesn't matter. Like it doesn't carry weight. Um,
doesn't.
and I'm okay with that. Like so I look and I laugh and I go, all right, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
But long term, do I think Wish is good? Yes. Every stock that has absolutely been massacred lately, like you could look at Clove, TMC, Wish, LOTZ, all of them are going to be
Lots.
fine. They're going to be fine. And here's the problem with all those, Blaine. Like those were all investments that somehow FinTwink got a hold of and turned it into a day trade or a short-term
Mm-hmm.
swing trade. And so it pumped it up with all that volume coming in. And then it was like, oh, wait, this isn't ready yet. And then it died. You got bag holders. And now it's actually being beaten down and punished because the stock wasn't ready to go yet. People
Yep.
got in way too early. So if you can be patient and just throw it in your Roth IRA, like biggest advice I'm giving my in-laws right now, they're like, hey, what should we invest in? What should we do? I'm like, well, first of all, not a financial advisor. Throw that out there.
Of course. Yep.
But if I
Rule
were
number one.
you and I had like 100 grand to just throw in a stock, maybe I had 200 grand. Split it up between LOTZ, TMC, WIS, H, and just throw it in your Roth IRA and then look at it in 5 years. I promise you that investment will grow 300 to 400% in that time, which very much beats your 7% annualized return from a, market fund that you would do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the Slap the Ask show this week. The episode hasn't come out. Maybe by the time this airs, it will have come out. But I went on a very long rant about how MNMD is my favorite long-term hold, which is Mind Medicine. Have you heard of it?
I've seen the ticker. I haven't looked too much into it yet.
It's like psilocybin drugs that are for like depression, anxiety, PTSD, all of that. And I'm not a personal user, but like I think the horizon of what that whole that part of science, like we've seen it happen with weed, and I think it's going to happen again. And I'm just like absolutely sure that is going to happen. That basically the entire, if you want to hear me rant on how I think this is the future of medicine, watch the Slap the Ask show.
Well, and I'll like, let me just affirm that for a second. So like, this, I got a doctorate. I focused in adolescent psychology. I wrote my dissertation on anxiety and depression and suicide. And so like, I am intimately aware of the data of how those particular issues and ailments are growing within younger generations. And then you look at like kids, my kids' age, your kids' age, it's continuing to grow there. So you're like looking at this like long term, you're going like, all right, so like this problem's not going away. And like there's a lot of reasons for that, right? That are influencing that. But that particular field of medicine, like you look at when like an Alzheimer drug runs today, because it's like, oh, this thing might have a cure for maybe something 15% of the population deals with.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so what about when you have a cure for a disease or an illness that 65% of the population deals with?
Yep.
And so you're literally like, so Malcolm Gladwell, I don't know if you know who he is. He's love Gladwell, but he talks about like this idea of like, hey, look, you've got your early adopters, your mid adopters, and then your late adopters. When you're talking about that stock, essentially you are an early adopter saying like, I see the horizon. I see what this could be. I'm getting in now. And then maybe 12 months to 18 months from now is when all the Fubus will get into it. And then a little bit after, the institutions, and you're going to be really rich. That's the bottom line.
I mean, like I absolutely, truly believe that. And, also I told you I quit drinking. And the fact that like society has normalized alcohol as the thing to deal with all of this. Should I push
my alcohol out of the way right now?
No, not at all. Not at all. I had Justin, my co-host, we were at Thanksgiving and he was like, Blaine, it's 11:30. Are you going to judge me when I have my drink? And I was like, you don't know. Do you know me? Like, have you known me for the last 10 years? I would never.
I've already been judging you for the last 10 years. Why? I'm kidding.
I think it's so sad that like as a society that like we have chosen alcohol as the self-prescribed, like you're having a shitty day, you can drink, you're celebrating, like that horizon, or that's not the right word, but that will break up in the next 10 to 20 years. Like in the same way that like the weed properties have come out as such these miraculous things that you can use something that comes from the earth to solve all of these issues. I'm just a big believer in the future of this. So I will continue to rant until you guys all own Mind Medicine. Look it up. It's a good company.
What she's doing here, guys, is she's pumping the stock because she front loaded it. so that when
Yes.
we all go to buy it, she could just sell it to it.
Yes.
Like, this is the making of a podcast Furu right here, what you guys are
Mhm,
watching.
mhm. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to sell you my shares.
I'm just playing. She's not doing that.
It's a $2 stock. So, I'm telling you now, but you can get in early. Hold and hope.
Honestly, those companies, though, if they become successful, they're going to be $400 companies in about 10
hmm
years.
I mean, look at like Grow Generation and
GRWG.
Canopy,
Yep.
but GRWG really took it and ran with it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I interviewed the Wolf of Weed Street and got really down a rabbit hole with him about this whole thing. And now I'm just a believer,
Marijuana. It's the future.
Just
I do not endorse that as a pastor.
you can't. I am
But well, in
also
Colorado, I could, apparently.
sure. I'm also 100% sober endorsing these companies. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should use them. I'm saying you should invest in them.
When that's honestly like, so people ask me all the time, they go like, hey, like, do you have a moral dilemma in some of the things that you trade with? And I'm like, well, not really. Cause I look at trading like a game of chess. You know what I mean? Like they're just pawns that I move around to do the thing that I actually want to do, which is my why. Tie it all back to that. But I don't I don't care about the companies because like I don't care what they do. It's just, can they move my own hopes and ambitions and dreams forward? Yeah, they'll totally trade him. Now, if I'm investing in a company, that's a whole different story. Like when I look at my Roth IRA, like I'm like, dude, I'm gonna put money in this because I actually believe in the company. Like ALZN. I know, God forbid I say ALZN right now because they've just been doing so freaking terribly. But I've looked at the research they're doing. I've looked at the data and I'm like, this stuff is actually really, really, really promising. And for me, having family who's actually had to walk that journey, I'm like, dude, I will park my money there all day long
Yeah,
because I care about what they're doing, right? So invest in the things you care about, day trade everything else. Because who
totally.
cares? Who cares?
Who cares?
It's a stock.
Yep. Well, this is not exactly where I thought our Thanksgiving episode would go, but I am glad I got to really
I had
tell
no
you how
idea.
I feel about it.
Look, there we go. And we honestly, we had no idea where this is going. Like we were just like, let's just see where it goes. And
Yeah,
it went to place. And you know what? That's okay.
totally. All right. Well, we have almost made it an hour. We were also going to do a quick episode with nothing on the docket. And here we filled up another hour and it was just delightful.
Well, we did do like the half hour on thankfulness and all that, but then we started talking about stocks. So I'm sorry if you're listening on Thanksgiving.
You should have cut it off at 30 minutes when we told you to cut it off and go be with your family.
I know. If you're still listening at this point, this is your fault, not ours.
It is. It is. I mean, you're probably charting. And if you're charting on Thanksgiving Day, we can't help you. So.
True story. True story.
All right. Well, enjoy your time with your family. I am taking a week off. So I will see you on the Monday after Thanksgiving and on Twitter because I'm not leaving that.
Happy Thanksgiving all.
Bye. Thank you to our producer Joel Edwards and Chesley Lowe for the banjo music. Please like, subscribe, and share this on social media. We appreciate you guys.
By accessing this podcast, you acknowledge that the Penny Lane podcast makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional or financial advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, the Penny Lane podcast does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. The third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policies of the Penny Lane podcast. The Penny Lane podcast assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and/or links referenced herein.